All right, future dermatologists, we are going to be going over how to write functions inside of this project right here that is called function keys and runs. So this is the first video in it, and I'm going to be showing you how to go through it. So I'm just going to go over the project very quickly. So functions can be stored in what is known as a key. Sometimes it's referred to that as, I've seen it, it's not always referred to as a key. Sometimes it's just the functions file. Sometimes it's another file with a different name. But that's basically where we store all of our functions so we can clear off of our main file or our run file so that it's not as clustered. And I'll show you what I mean because we're going to have a lot of code that's written on this key. And then we can use keys to hold functions, and we can call them into another program file just by calling import and then the name of that file, and then we can add those functions if we need them. So sometimes the file that we run is called the run file. Sometimes it's also called the main file. They're pretty used interchangeably. So in this program, we are going to create a program using functions that takes two inputs from the user, calculates the sum of those numbers between those values inclusively, and then calculates the product of the number between those two values and prints out both results. Your main program should include a sentinel loop that allows the user to input additional sets of start/stop values if desired. Sentinel loop, it's a fancy term for a loop that, do you want to continue? Do you want to do this again? It allows you to do iterations, but it's all keyed in on pretty much a yes or no, on and off, true or false, Boolean kind of operation. It's not so much in like for loops or while loops where we had a certain count and we're doing it up to a certain amount of iterations or to when a condition is met. This is somewhat making a condition met, but we get to have that choice about when it happens. All right, so our program, right now we are going to start with writing the get start, which takes no arguments. So if we look back up here, that means this spot over here of our functions is blank. And then it is going to request the user to enter a starting number, an integer, for calculations to ensure the number is greater than 0. The starting number should be returned to the calling program. All right, so let's get started. We are going to first define our function. I am going to define this, and I gave you names for each of these, so I am going to define it as get start. And like I said before, this has no arguments, so I'm just going to leave that bracket empty. Now I am in the body of the function, and I can write up what I want inside of my function. So we are looking for an input from the user. This is our first input. This is going to be called our starting number because we are going to use this as our, I'm just going to call it start number just to save a little space. But I still want it to be a clear variable, especially if we're making a lot of videos on this. So we're going to use our start number, and that is going to be equal to our integer input. So we're going to make this an integer, we're going to ask an input, and then we are going to prompt with enter a number greater than 0. And then we'll put a nice colon and space and close up this string, close up the integer. And that's the start of the function. Now, within this, we basically have a diagnostic loop to make sure that this is greater than that. So we are now going to say inside of this function, while start number is less than or equal to 0, we are going to print, that's an invalid number. I'm going to print it as a reminder, so the entered number must be greater than 0. And then we will close that up. So we're going to print that, and then we are going to queue in this start number again. So we will command copy and command paste that. Cool. So now, once we have finished that, we still want to return something. So the starting value entered should be returned to the calling program. So we want to make sure that we are returning the value and we're storing that. So when we store this variable, once we run our main function, it'll be fine. So we're going to use that command return, should turn orange right there, and we are going to return the start number. It's unedited, pretty simple. That's how you do the first program. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it answered any questions. If you have more, please feel free to contact me. I'll talk to you later. Peace.